Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general mid-month reading for the sign of Libra, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the last 2 weeks of April. I hope you're well. Using the Lost Forest for you today. So these mid-month readings are structured a little differently to the main monthly readings, in so much as we are looking for the lesson in these readings. I'll pull 3 cards for the energy that you find yourself in at the moment, and then another 3 to find out what the lesson is of this energy. I think everything is a lesson, and particularly when things are very challenging, I find it helps me navigate if I can pull back from the situation a little bit, gain a bit of perspective and see what the energy is trying to teach me. Sometimes it's trying to show me something really profound. In other times it's just setting the stage for what comes next. We won't know which one it is until the cards hit the table, obviously. If that doesn't make sense, bear with me. I'm sure it will by the end of it. We'll close out with 3 cards of advice. What else to tell you? I did a 6-month overview for each of the signs at the beginning of the year. We are now halfway through that period, so I've knocked those right down. Then that's like a couple of quid each. So if you haven't checked those out, there's a link in the description box. Go and have a look. I'd just like for everybody to hear the messages that were in them. So let's get 3 cards for Libra, please. Do you know what? Oh, I shut this window. It was silent for like 10 minutes before I started the video recording, and then all of a sudden everybody has to drive past my house. Happens. Libra, 3 cards please. Ooh. First card is the Ace of Cups. Ooh. The second card is the 2 of Cups, and the third card is the Hanged Man. This looks like a change of perspective in something. We've got the Ace of Swords at the bottom of the deck as well, so there's two aces that we've got here. The first ace is to do with emotions, in whatever respect that applies. So the way that you feel emotion, the way that you give emotion, the way that, you know, you receive emotion from other people. But when it's an ace, it talks about something new or a renewal of something, right? The Ace of Cups I actually tend to see for myself more to do with the self, right? It's quite a reflective kind of ace for me. It is about truly understanding, you know, your value, loving yourself. I know that kind of sticks in the craw sometimes, that whole notion, right? But having a renewed appreciation for yourself, right? An acceptance of yourself. It also talks about forgiveness and compassion to me. But it's a new start in something, right? And it's followed up swiftly by the 2 of Cups. Now, I often say that the aces are all very well and good, but if you don't do anything with them, they just remain potential. And particularly something as ephemeral as the Ace of Cups, right? It's not like an Ace of Pentacles where it's, you know, an opportunity that has some sort of tangible element to it. This is quite an ethereal sort of energy here. But in the 2 of Cups appearing straight after it, it does then very much seem like an opportunity then being taken, or potential then being plucked from where it is and something doing with it. And this feels to me a lot like Libra. There is some work that you've done on yourself, and I'm not entirely sure what it is. I'm going to try really hard not to pull any clarifiers, because I don't in the monthly readings, mid-monthly readings. But this looks like something that started with you and is now being extended to other people, right? So we could see here an acceptance of yourself, warts and all, what you are, you know, an ownership of that, and a certain amount of authenticity, emotional authenticity that comes from kind of resonating at that frequency. Here I am, you know, flawed individual, but I'm showing up with everything that I've got. The 2 of Cups to me speaks about intimacy. It's like taking that and then going out into the world with it and drawing to you other people who resonate at that frequency, but certainly other people who are in alignment with some aspect of that. So it can be values, it can be shared goals, you know, it could just be that you really enjoy each other's company, something like that. And I have to say, it does not and should not be taken as strictly romantic, because often it's not. I even see this with friendships, even business partnerships sometimes, right? Whichever way it applies, it's gone from 1 to 2, or it's gone potential to activity associated with it, right? And we've got the Hanged Man at the end here, which is also water energy. There's a lot of emotion going on with you this month, Libra. But it talks about a change in perspective. It talks about often, in some ways, submitting to an energy that's coming in, right? Because this hangman is in, it's often an actual chap who's depicted as upside down and hanging from a tree. This is a bat, so not at all uncomfortable actually with this sort of situation here. That this is a natural state for the bat. But with it all being here with the Ace of Swords, it seems like there's been some sort of epiphany for you that has changed the way that you view perhaps relationships, but certainly intimacy and your part therein. You know, it could be that you just realise that in some aspects of you there are things that reside that you have not dealt with. You know, well, you kind of dealt with them, you put them in a box and forgot about them, but you know, they're still there and they still affect the way that you live. You know, and that is a part of you that is not exposed to other people. It is not shared with other people. You know? There's a certain amount of vulnerability that comes with intimacy. And perhaps it's that you've realised is not something that is a practice that you indulge in that much. But I see you changing your perspective on this quite hard, you know. And like I said, if this was a business reading, you know, if this was to do with your work or something like that, it's a newfound sense of self, being very comfortable with you as a person and kind of looking for people who resonate with you on that level, right? People who are comfortable to be around, you know, losing all the spikiness. I notice actually here that we've got these two roses over these two cups, but neither of those roses have thorns. And I think this is an important point for you here, is looking for those people with whom there's just a sense of harmony. You know, it's like you've got your Ace of Cups, and to a degree can also talk about, you know, emotional priorities, focal points, and then before you know it, suddenly there's two of you or three of you or four of you, you know, it could be a group of people that this is with, where it's just comfortable. You know, the Hangman doesn't feel uncomfortable for me. It does talk about you moving out of your comfort zone, as these cards appear to be here, but not experiencing any level of discomfort in it. Actually feeling a bit more like it's coming home than you'd anticipated. Very interesting. All right, tell me about the lesson here. We've got two came out together. We have the Emperor and we have the Three of Swords. We have the Father of Pentacles, which is Taurus energy. But he's come up in the reverse. And I think, Libra, you've had some people around you who have not been showing up in their most enlightened state, shall we put it that way, right? The Father of Pentacles is Taurus energy, but it could be indicative of any kind of earth sign at all. But it also doesn't have to be an earth sign. It could be somebody who does not take responsibility for things, somebody who does not show up when they say that they will, you know, somebody who is in fact the antithesis of everything that the Father of Pentacles stands for here. And he is responsible, but that's how he shows his affection for people, right? It's providing and all that sort of thing. What we've got here is an energy of somebody who does not do that. Now, it's interesting that I've come straight to this, because it could well be that there's been some sort of how do I want to put this? You've been engaging in some level of reflection about whoever this person is, and I do think it's a spiky person who doesn't really give much here. And almost by seeing their flaws, it's kind of had you turning inward and examining your own, and it doesn't feel uncomfortable. That's the important thing. This isn't shit, maybe I'm like them or anything like that. It's like, I see how this person is spiky and prickly and irresponsible and does not show up in the way that I think that they should. And it's kind of made you look at yourself and go, do I do that? Is that a thing that I do? I'm sort of sitting with it a little bit. And interestingly, it seems like it started this whole cascade in your mind about what your emotional priorities are. Where are the important things? Where do you put your emotion? And is it always in the right place? Have you kept these spiky people around who actually, and it could be that these are family members or close friends or something like that. There's an element here of you having kind of been around these people almost because you are just around these people, right? It's just what happens. And there's a level of discernment coming in here, which, for me, Libra is very closely associated with discernment, because your court hierarchy card is the Queen of Swords, right? Mental acuity, but also very discerning, being able to sift through what is true, what is not, what is useful, what is not, all of that kind of thing, right? And we have the Emperor and the Three of Swords. Now, to tie all of this together, it feels like there has been a situation in your present which, through sort of examining and seeing whether you embody any of these traits of these spiky people or these irresponsible people that have been around you, that has kind of started off this whole cascade of reflection about your past, right? And so it could be that you realise that you have some wounds associated with your father, potentially, because the Emperor is the King of Kings. He is the archetypal father. It could be an old partner, certainly. But it could be something more abstract than that. It could be a sense of how you've lived life on very rigid terms, and often not put your own emotional fulfillment at the top of the priority list, right? The Emperor is all about planning and structure and all that sort of thing. Like it's quite a rigid energy. But it's bound up with this heartache, right? And I really do feel like this heartache is something that you haven't actually examined that much. And the energy that you're in at the moment, which is actually a really beautiful energy, I have to say that, Libra, it's a really lovely energy, is enabling you to objectively look at things that feel like they've been hidden from you for a while, right? And this, whoever this Father of Pentacles is here in the reverse, I mean, it could be that there are similarities between, an ex and, a new person, or, a friend and your father. Do you see how these things kind of tie together? Like, I feel like these two characters are separate, but they are related in terms of behaviour. Now, we can't change other people's behaviour, and neither should we even attempt to, right? That's not our thing at all. And I really don't think that's what's going on here. What's going on here is your reflection on how this situation has affected you, right? In the past, how it has caused you to make decisions that you have made. Like, I really do feel that at points in your past, there has been a lack, like I said, a lack of prioritization of the softer things here. It's all been about having to make very difficult, hard decisions, and then working really, really hard with the consequences of those decisions. It's got very Emperor type vibes over it, whereas your energy is softening now for some reason. And whoever this is, and it doesn't even have to be a who, it could be a number of people, or it could be kind of like a situation, something like that. The important thing is it's sparked off this dialogue inside. And then we have the Lovers. Now, look how beautifully this card is coloured compared to the others here. We've got the red on the Three of Swords there, but the rest of it is black and white. And we've got this little moon up here, sun, sorry, up here. But the rest of the card is black and white, right? We have these coloured antlers, but the rest of the card is black and white. Like, this is somebody who had so much potential, but they just never did anything with it, and I've always kind of indulged the lower behaviours than you expected of them. But then look at the glorious colours here, right? Now, the way that this all ties together is showing you that you have a choice. I think that there have been points in your life where you have made the rigid decisions, right? What was proper and all that sort of thing, possibly from what could be considered to be an antiquated perspective, because, you know, we've got this thing in the UK about having this stiff upper lip. You know, you don't show emotion, you don't feel emotion, you don't do it. Actually, what it's done is it's, you know, created generations of British who are incredibly bound up and repressed. I mean, it's, you know, the Victorian era is still very much alive and well in the attitudes of a lot of British people, right? But there were points in your life where you could have done things differently. You could have done them softer, you could have indulged the emotion more, you could have been nicer to yourself, Libra, and I think that's probably quite an important thing here. But at the root of it, what it's showing you is that you have choice. You always have choice. Now, sometimes those choices will require you to go against the grain, right? What is established, what is proper, what the rules say, all that sort of thing, right? But for some of you, it could be even like a burgeoning spirituality. You know, you've lived life within these very narrow 3D parameters where, you know, hard work and dedication is rewarded, and, you know, you must maintain focus and all that sort of thing. And there's not really been any emotional stuff around the side. That this has all changed, and the world is opening up to you, right? Possibly in a spiritual awakening, but certainly in terms of pointing you towards the fact that you are always able to choose between one thing and another. You know, the feeling that I've got here is kind of living a life that somebody else planned out for you. And I really feel you pulling away from that. You know, the Lover's card is all about conscious co-creation. What do you want? What is the life that you want? You know, and honestly, I think with the blue and the yellow across both of these cards, I think it's a life that you want more multi-layered than has been offered to you hitherto. But all of this is a reflection on how you have done things so far, in order that you may change that in the future, you know, in light of these new priorities for you. I think that's absolutely beautiful, to be honest. Right, let's get you some cards of advice. We have the Five of Pentacles and the Devil, and then the Father of Cups. Yep. With the Page of Pentacles and the Six of Pentacles here. Now, this is quite interesting because we've got a lot of earth energy here. You are an air sign, so this is quite interesting. But in terms of advice, I feel like it's kind of pointing you to what is the next thing for you to look at, right? We have Capricorn here, indicated by the Devil, and the Five of Pentacles. Now, it could be that there's a Capricorn involved here. That's possible, but it might not be, because the Devil is all about the things that we fear, right? It is all about those ways in which we feel trapped. And what I feel for you is very much an expansion and a liberation that is very soft, I have to say. Indicates a softening of you and your reactions to the world and your actions within the world, right? But an examination of what... possibly what early experiences left you feeling like emotions were not a valid thing and weren't really worthy of being considered valid at any point. But also what it is that you might have lost, you know? This Devil card here is... it is restriction, and it is well, it's indicative of a lot of very toxic behaviours, as well as being, you know, cards of an earth element basis. But for some of you, and I'm talking specifically if this is to do with your father, right? This is, and so this will not be for all of you, but understanding that they as a person were kind of stuck, didn't feel like they could express themselves. You know, maybe they're a product of their generation, whatever it is. But they certainly weren't reaching the point where you are at now, where that kind of softening and that emotional component is in, right? Because we've got the Father of Cups next to this, right? This is emotional availability. This is somebody who is open, wears their heart on their sleeve, but, you know, isn't wishy-washy. It's the card of Scorpio. It's somebody who really knows how they feel and can express that and is open, you know, to giving affection and receiving affection and all that sort of thing. And I actually think for some of you, kind of understanding that person, I mean, this could equally be, you know, an ex or something like that, right? Understanding that person was damaged themselves, but that it didn't actually change how they felt about you. It's kind of like an attribution of responsibility, right? But in doing so, sort of allowing that to be put to rest, not carrying forwards the wounds of that in what you do moving forwards, because I think it has dictated an awful lot of the way that you've shown up in the world, right? Focusing on this, forgiving and accepting and all that sort of thing, right? Being compassionate towards whoever laid this, you know, this lesson out for you, whoever laid this example out for you, is the way forward. Because we've got the Daughter of Pentacles, which is the Page, and the Six of Pentacles here. Now, this is a card of balance. It's a card of reciprocity. It is a card of sometimes of charity. Right, but it's things being nice and even as we like them, Libra. You know, these deep revelations don't need to knock you off your perch, and I actually don't get a sense at all that they're doing that for you. But they are enabling you to leave the past where it belongs and not carry it forward with you in the future. This is a card of a new start for me, but it's a very balanced, very even new start. It is one that doesn't require great big towers or, you know, huge, messy, raw spiritual awakenings to appreciate. This is very considered, very balanced, but now with extra information. Right? And the extra information is the emotional component of all of it. I actually think that this is beautiful for you, Libra, and not at all dramatic. Like sometimes it can be incredibly dramatic, and that's all a bit much, you know. There's no sense of that here. It's very considered, very reflective, that sort of thing, and can only serve you well in the future. It can only serve you well. Right, this is what I have for you. Know that I love you all very, very much. I really, this is really good work. I really like this. So take care, and I'll see you soon.